Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's WinterhelmGames, and we're back with another one of Twisted Tales big installments. This one is, as he did say, he would put up some Christmas horror stories. So 3 hair-raising true Christmas horror stories. Like and subscribe if you like this type of content. Go over to Twisted Tales, give them some love, and let them know I sent you across. Let's get into it.
Let me tell you about the Christmas party that turned into a real-life horror movie. It all started innocently enough. A group of friends, festive decorations, and an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere. We were eager to escape the city grind and have a cozy holiday celebration. But things took a turn we never expected. The Airbnb we rented was this rustic cabin that was about 50 miles outside of the city. It was surrounded by snow-covered trees and looked like it came straight out of a postcard.
Cool.
The promise of a white Christmas hung in the air,
Nice.
and the excitement was visible as we unloaded our bags of food, drinks, and decorations. The cabin was a quaint 2-story abode that seemed like the perfect setting for our holiday shindig. We wasted no time turning the place into a winter wonderland. Lights adorned the porch railings, a makeshift Christmas tree took center stage in the living room, and a cozy fire crackled in the fireplace. The scene was reminiscent of one of those Hallmark movies. The evening kicked off with laughter, festive tunes, and the clinking of glasses. We exchanged gifts, feasted on holiday treats, and basked in the warmth of friendship. Everything was going swimmingly until nightfall. It was around 7 p.m. when someone noticed a shadow moving outside. We dismissed it as a trick of the light or maybe one too many glasses of spiked eggnog. But as the sun began to go down, the cabin seemed to be cloaked in darkness, and the atmosphere definitely shifted a bit. Through the frosted windows, we caught glimpses of a figure dressed in a Santa Claus costume, wandering around the property. At first, it seemed like a neighbor having a laugh or someone from town enjoying the festive season.
First thing that came to my mind there was Malone. Harry and Marv. Let us in, kid, a Santa Claus and his elf.
We chuckled, thinking we were part of some quirky holiday scene. But as time went on, the Santa figure got closer, and the laughter in the cabin turned into uneasy murmurs. Every time someone noticed him, he would stand still, staring in our direction, as if sizing us up. The festive vibe began to unravel, replaced by an undercurrent of discomfort. Around 10 p.m., some of us decided to confront the guy, thinking he might be lost or needed help. Stepping outside, the frigid air slapped us in the face, and the distant sound of the wind seemed to carry an ominous note. There he was, standing at the edge of the property, just motionless. "Hey, everything okay, dude?" I called out. The man didn't respond at all. He just stood there like a creepy mannequin, his eyes hidden behind the faux fur lining of the Santa hat. We exchanged puzzled glances and decided to head back inside, chalking it up to some eccentric local character. But as we closed the door, we caught a glimpse of him moving in the shadows. His silence and strange demeanor were unnerving, to say the least. As it got later in the night, our unease grew even more. The Santa figure started circling the cabin, his presence an unwelcome intrusion. Each time we closed the curtains, he would appear at another window, his silent watch turning our festive celebration into a bizarre ordeal. A few hours later, we huddled together, debating what to do. Maybe it was a harmless prank, but the atmosphere had shifted from quirky to downright unsettling. With a shaky resolve, one of us decided to step outside and ask him to leave. When the door creaked open, the cold night air rushed in, carrying an inexplicable tension. The Santa figure was now on the porch, and the dim porch light barely illuminated his face. "Who are you? What do you want?" my friend demanded. No response. The man in the Santa suit just stood there, a few feet away from the door, silent and unmoving. The only sound was the distant howl of the wind. The festive atmosphere had dissolved into a pool of discomfort, and the cabin that was once our refuge now felt like a trap. "Let's call the police," someone suggested.
Exactly. That's all you
The
do.
idea hung in the air, heavy with the realization that things had gone beyond a harmless prank. As we reached for our phones, the Santa figure turned and disappeared into the night. Once on the line with the local police, we explained the situation. half expecting them to dismiss it as a silly Christmas Eve misunderstanding. But the urgency in our voices must have conveyed the gravity of the situation. While we waited for the police to arrive, the cabin felt like a fortress under siege. Every creak, every rustle outside sent shivers down our spines. The creepy Santa, now more of a nightmare than a festive character, seemed to linger in the shadows of our imagination. When the police finally arrived, they combed the area but found no trace of the mysterious Santa-clad creepster. Our statements were taken, and they assured us they'd patrol the area throughout the night. The festive spirit had evaporated, replaced by a lingering sense of dread. The remainder of the night was spent in uneasy silence. Santa never returned, but his silent intrusion had cast a dark cloud over our Christmas celebration. The next morning, the police reported finding no one matching the description in the area. As we packed our things to leave, the cabin that had promised a cozy holiday retreat felt haunted. The memory of the silent man in the Santa suite lingered and ultimately turned our holiday gathering into a chilling ordeal.
It's quite an interesting one. You can imagine going with a few friends and enjoying a day or two away at Christmas, or whether it be Christmas Eve or leading up to Christmas, and then something like that happening. I mean, I don't think I would have held off as long as they did. They went out initially, talked to him, he didn't respond. Then you seen him circling around before they decided later on in the evening to go out to him again. Probably would have called the police long before then. And I wouldn't have said it to the point where he would have heard this, because obviously he's heard this and decided to walk on. But at least it, got rid of him at least. But as to say, it would put a bit of a dampener on your rest of your evening. And then if you let that kind of overshadow everything. Okay, let's go for number 2.
It was Christmas Eve, and unfortunately, I had to work the night shift. The chill in the air cut through my jacket as I stared out at the empty pumps, wondering if anyone was crazy enough to come shop at this hour. Spoiler alert.
You'd be surprised.
They were.
Yeah.
The fluorescent lights hummed overhead and glowed over the candy aisle. The radio in the back crackled with some old holiday tune, probably Bing Crosby singing about a white Christmas or something. The irony of it all wasn't lost on me. I was stuck in a fluorescent-lit box while the rest of the world was home comfy and probably nestled by a cozy fire. Around midnight, though, things got a bit weird. It was quiet. Too quiet. The occasional hum of a car passing by on the distant highway was the only break in the silence. I was just about to start counting the gum packets to pass the time when the door chimed. A guy in an old, tattered Santa Claus costume sauntered in. Now, I'd seen my share of eccentric characters at the gas station. Night shifts attract the strange and the stranded. But there was something off about this Santa. The costume looked like it had been dragged through a hedge backward, and his beard was more like a nest of tinsel than anything resembling facial hair. He wandered through the aisles, picking up random items like he was stocking up for a Christmas apocalypse. A can of soda, a bag of chips, and a roll of duct tape. Yes, duct tape. My internal alarm bells started ringing. I glanced at the clock and it was now past midnight and officially Christmas Day. The guy in the Santa suit wasn't humming carols or spreading Christmas cheer. He was wandering around like he'd lost something. I decided to keep an eye on him. As he approached the counter, I greeted him with the mandatory retail smile. "Late night shopping?" I asked, trying to keep things light. He stared at me with this intense gaze, his eyes hidden behind the filthy Santa beard. "Just passing through," he mumbled, his voice scratchy, like he'd been smoking cheap cigarettes. He tossed a handful of crumpled bills on the counter, more than enough to cover his odd assortment of items. Without saying another word, he grabbed his loot and left.
Yeah, you just wouldn't.
I watched him
carry
stroll
on the
back into the
conversation.
silent night, wondering what kind of Christmas he was having. Shrugging off the weird encounter, I turned my attention back to the aisles. That's when I heard it, the faint jingling of bells. Not the kind you put on a door, but the tiny, eerie bells you hear in horror movies when something sinister is about to go down. The sound was faint at first, like it was coming from outside. I stepped out, scanning the deserted gas pumps and the empty highway. Nothing. But the jingling persisted, growing louder and closer. That's when I realized it was coming from the roof. I hesitated for a moment, the bells now almost deafening. Summoning all the courage of someone who'd binge-watched every horror movie ever made, I grabbed the mop from the corner, my makeshift weapon, and headed toward the source of the sound. The rooftop access door was slightly ajar. My heart raced as I pushed it open, half expecting a deranged Santa to leap at me. Instead, there was nothing but the cold night air and the distant hum of a passing truck. Just as I was about to chalk it up to the wind playing tricks, I saw something. Footprints in the snow leading from the rooftop edge to the woods behind the station. Someone had been up there, jingling bells, watching the gas station. I felt a chill creep down my spine. My mind raced with scenarios, some Christmas prank or a potential break-in. I called the police, feeling a sense of relief when they said they'd send someone over to check it out. The next hour dragged on like a bad movie. I kept glancing at the clock, counting the minutes until my shift was over. The arrival of the police didn't bring much comfort. They combed the area, checked the rooftop, and looked at me like maybe I'd been smoking something. And not cigarettes either.
Yeah.
As they left, one officer gave me a card. "Call if you see anything else," he said, his tone more weary than reassuring. Great, I thought. Another Christmas Eve mystery to solve. The rest of the night passed without incident. The strange Santa, the rooftop jingling. It all felt like some bizarre holiday fever dream. As dawn broke and the first light of Christmas morning tinted the sky, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd stumbled into a story better suited for a Stephen King novel. The morning shift guy found me still on edge, my eyes bleary from too much caffeine and not enough sleep. I mumbled something about a weird night, handed over the mop/weapon, and stumbled out into the Christmas dawn. I made my way home, the eerie silence of the gas station still ringing in my ears. Maybe it was just a bizarre encounter with a lost soul in a Santa suit. Maybe it was a prank, a weird twist of fate on a lonely Christmas Eve. But as I crawled into bed, I couldn't shake the image of those footprints leading to the woods, the jingling bells echoing in the night. It was a Christmas story I never expected, one that left me truly questioning whether it all was real or just my imagination playing tricks on me.
Well, you wouldn't want to think it would be your imagination, I suppose, but certainly with having the customer initially coming in and getting a few weird items, but I mean, yeah, it may look weird and may be kind of strange, but you know, some people just have different things in their mind. You wouldn't know. But the whole thing with the rooftop is quite eerie, quite freaky, but that was quite good. Let's see what number 3 has.
It was Christmas Eve, and I was home alone, surrounded by wrapping paper, ribbons, and a mountain of presents waiting to be wrapped for friends and family. The plan was simple. Turn on some cheesy holiday tunes, sip on hot cocoa, and transform my living room into a festive, gift-wrapping haven. Everything was going as planned. I had the whole evening to myself, and I was determined to make the presents look like Martha Stewart herself had wrapped them. I threw on my most obnoxious Christmas sweater, cranked up the volume on Jingle Bell Rock, and got to work. The house was silent, bathed in the soft glow of fairy lights and the twinkling Christmas tree. I was in my own little holiday bubble, humming along to the tunes when I heard it. The distant sound of jingle bells. I dismissed it at first, figuring it was a neighbor's decoration or some festive kids playing around. But the jingling persisted, growing louder and closer. I paused, my hand gripping the scissors, and listened. The music in the background seemed to mock the unease creeping up my spine. That's when I realized the jingle bells weren't coming from outside. They were inside the house. I took a deep breath, telling myself it was probably my cat knocking around some decorations or the house settling. But the sound seemed purposeful, deliberate. My heart raced as I followed the jingle to the hallway. The hall was dimly lit and the jingling echoed through the silence. I strained my ears, trying to pinpoint the source, when the sound suddenly stopped. Then, I saw him, a figure standing at the end of the hallway. My first thought was that my mind was playing tricks on me. Maybe it was a friend pulling a Christmas prank. "Very funny," I nervously said, but no response. The figure stood still, cloaked in darkness. Panic began to set in as I fumbled for my phone in my back pocket, intent on calling 911. He wore an old, tattered Santa Claus costume, complete with a hat that looked more like a twisted elf cap. The festive red suit was stained, and the beard was ragged and looked like it had seen one too many holidays. He stared at me with dark, vacant eyes, his gaze sending a chill down my spine. Panic took over and I screamed, dropping my phone and stumbling backward. The intruder didn't move. He just stood there. I darted back into the living room, grabbing the closest thing resembling a weapon, a candy cane-shaped ornament. The house that had felt warm and festive and now seemed like a maze of shadows. The intruder remained in the hallway, his figure barely visible in the dim light. I could hear him shuffling, the soft jingle of bells from the belt of his costume taunting me. Panic turned to determination. I had to get out. I needed to reach a neighbor's house or find someone who could help. I edged toward the front door, careful not to make a sound. As my hand touched the doorknob, the figure appeared at the end of the hallway, closer now. His twisted Santa hat cast an elongated shadow, and I could see the glint of something metallic in his hand. My heart pounded as I opened the front door, the cold night air hitting me like a slap. I ran, my feet slipping on the frost-covered grass, adrenaline pushing me forward. The jingle of bells followed me, haunting my every step. I reached a neighbor's house, pounding on the door like a mad person. My neighbor opened the door, concern etched on his face as I rambled about a creepy Santa Claus in my house. He called the police while I tried to catch my breath. When the officers arrived, they combed through my house, but there was no sign of the intruder. The presents I'd been so meticulously wrapping were scattered, ribbons torn, a holiday massacre in the living room. The police took my statement, exchanged skeptical glances, and assured me they'd keep an eye on the area. I spent the rest of the night at the neighbor's house, sleep a distant dream, as the image of that twisted Santa haunted my thoughts. Christmas morning arrived, and the sun bathed the world in a gentle light. The police assured me they'd patrol the area, but the intruder remained a ghost. The festive decorations now seemed like a cruel joke, the presents a reminder of a night gone horribly wrong. I spent Christmas with friends, the joy of the season overshadowed by the lingering unease. The house I had considered my sanctuary now felt tainted, the jingle of bells a haunting melody in my memory. In the days that followed, I installed security cameras, double-checked locks, and avoided being alone at night. The fear of a silent Santa returning lingered, an unwelcome guest in the back of my mind. The jingle of bells, once a symbol of holiday cheer, now sent shivers down my spine, an echo of a night when the magic of Christmas had turned into a chilling nightmare. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on more spine-chilling tales.
There you are. Head over and give them some love. Let them know I sent you across, and enjoy the festive tunes and the festive stories there, I suppose, if you want to say that. But festive horror stories. But that was good. I'm glad he put those ones up. We'll maybe see some more of those kind of ones. Who knows? We'll maybe get a few more. But over this next week, over Christmas, there'll probably be 1 or 2 videos up of different reactions. But apart from that, it'll be more just coming into the new year. We'll start up a few things again, and excuse me. And hopefully, then, if I can get a few, this might be the last horror stories for the year. So apologies, but don't worry. I'll keep an eye, and I'll see if I can get a few more Twisted Tales reactions up for January onwards. Maybe every week or every second week or so, as I said before. We'll see what happens. But have a very Merry Christmas over the next few days, the next week or so, and enjoy the holidays, enjoy your time off, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.